Okay, guys, we're going to get through scene 2, 3, and 4, and I'm not going to bother with 5 because I'm going to leave that up to you. That's really where things are brought together. But I'm going to try to go through the train wreck and what kind of led up to it. And so we'll go through that for a bit. The thing I want to re-emphasize, though, is this metaphor machine. This is that weird little idea that I really want to push on. Um, and the stages of it. And I really want to emphasize the utility of this. And it works just about anywhere if you have any metaphoric language or figurative language. Now, mind you, there is a distinction between similes and personification and all. Don't worry about it. If there's any kind of fancy language, just like bust this out. Think about it for a bit. Literally what's being described. What are they really talking about here? And this can be done with any kind of political writings or any kind of scientific writings if they're using figurative language. This stuff works. And then what words are being used. Think about what kind of words is the person who's writing. Where would these normally, where would you normally come across this language? And really pull it out. Try to figure, yeah, I could see he's using or she's using that kind of language. Okay. And then stop and think, why would they do this? What do they want me to see? They want you to see things in a certain way. And that's, really, is it legitimate or not? Or why are they trying to get you to see it or understand it that way? And that's the nature of analysis. And again, the first two stages, what is literally being described and what words are being used, almost everybody agrees upon those. The third one, that is where you step in with your analysis, okay? And I want to bring a little bit of an issue up before we go to the final little bits and pieces of the play, is that this guy Aristotle, here he is right here. No, I'm not Aristotle. Let's put me off to the side. So, Aristotle wrote a book. Let me come back in here and look at this little thing. This is Oedipus. This is really, if we went in kind of the succession of events in the play, this would have officially come before it, but all the audience would have known about it. Now, Sophocles assumes you know Oedipus Tyrannus when you go in there. Aristotle wrote the Poetics a little bit after Sophocles lived. He was writing in around 350 BC or so, and again, Sophocles is writing somewhere around 340 maybe to about 305 BC. Excuse me, 440 to around 410 BC, and Aristotle came after that. When he wrote the Poetics, he described the nature of tragedy. Okay. And he used Oedipus Tyrannus as the example of this is how it's done. And again, Oedipus would have been the first one officially in the sequence of plays. And let me shrink myself up here. And what Aristotle described was that tragedies are really when somebody who's elevated comes to ruin. Okay, you've got to have somebody who is elevated, like Oedipus was. And he thought the audience should be able to see something of themselves in the ruin of the main character. And that this would bring about a pathos or a pity and a fear at the tragedy for humanity. And if you're really following this along, you would see this in the primary characters of Antigone and Creon. And there's going to be ultimately a catharsis, in other words, an experience. What Aristotle thought would be this experience of tragedy, it would leave the audience somewhat elevated if they would go through this, since the tragic position of humankind would be experienced. They would see this, that all of humanity is caught up in what's going on with this elevated person. Okay, the trouble is, and yeah, there's Eddie. He's having a bad day. There's a fatal flaw, or what he called the hamartia. And this is important if you're going to get Greek tragedy. That fatal flaw does not cause the downfall. It just triggers it to come about. Okay, it's just going to happen. It's already going to happen. The gods already, set up this tragedy for Oedipus and for Antigone and for Creon. It's going to happen, but the fatal flaw triggers it. Bang, here it comes now. It was going to happen all along, but now here it comes. Okay, that's the last turn around the corner before bang. And so it's kind of hard with Antigone to figure out whose tragedy is it. Is it really Antigone's or is it Creon's? Creon's unwavering adherence to the law could be seen as a harmatia. It could be Creon's. But Antigone's unwavering adherence to her righteousness, that could be the, harmatia. When you see who really falls from a position of height down, it seems like it might be Creon, because he's the one in an elevated position who comes to his own ruin. And he definitely has this character flaw. Antigone does come to ruin, but it's not from an elevated position. Or if you argue that she's, righteous and it's a moral elevation, you could do that. But there is a question with Antigone of whose tragedy is it, okay? And let's go through it. Let's see what's going on here. So I want you to be aware of that and know that really with tragedy, it does come out of understanding it. It did exist before Aristotle, but Aristotle really has laid the groundwork for everything that's come after with the understanding of it. He really kind of nailed that. But let's get back to it. Let me throw myself up here. Yay! And let's go through it. And you can keep those questions in mind as we go through it. And this is Ode 2. These are these little interludes in as we go through the play, where the chorus steps in. Remember, the chorus is the voice of the people. And you get that element of maybe coming in from the chorus. And that element of maybe comes up again and again and again. And it triggers a lot of problems. And the chorus says, "Fortunate is the man who has never tasted God's vengeance." That's on. And notice the metaphoric language of tasting God's vengeance. Okay, so literally he's, somebody who has not endured God's, wrath is what he's talking about here, but tasted it. It's as if you've imbibed it like food. Why do that? Because it hits you on a bodily level, on a personal level, like it's poison. Like vengeance is a poison that can be fed to you. Okay? Where once the anger of heaven is struck, that house is shaken forever. Damnation rises behind each child like a wave cresting over the black northeast. That should give you an understanding of how the people, the chorus, sees what's going on before them with Creon and Antigone. It's a wave crashing down on a child. It's literally what it's doing. Is if it's on the literal level, it's talking about how tragedy can affect everybody. It's using the words describing at the sea when waves come. Okay, hitting a child. And why do that? Well, because a child can't stop a wave, and these are forces of nature that you just can't halt. So that gives you a lot of the understanding about the chorus, and that should trigger a bit of sympathy for the nature of Antigone. And notice that the chorus wasn't very sympathetic before, but now it's coming in. As if, this is a child that cannot resist it. Antigone is in the line of Oedipus, and it's a house that's been cursed from the beginning. I have seen the gathering sorrow from time long past loom upon Oedipus's children, generation from generation. Takes the compulsive rage of the enemy god. And again, notice that this has come upon Oedipus and the children of Oedipus. It's as if they cannot resist it. The rage has been, described as if it's a wave, as if it's something that's a natural a natural effect that they can't do anything about. Okay. And then scene 3, excuse me. You have this extraordinarily fascinating character of Haman, just la 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 walking onto the stage, and he's absolutely brilliant. He says, "I am your son, father, you are my guide." You make things clear to me and I obey you. No marriage means more to me than your continuing wisdom. Yeah. Haman here is a fascinating character because he says this to Creon, and it's clearly what Creon wants to hear. Haman knows his dad. Boy, does he. He doesn't actually mean these words, but he knows these are the best hope for getting any kind of peace with his dad. He flatters his dad. So you are my guide. Well, literally, he is recognizing that he recognizes the authority of his God, of his dad. But you are my guide. I will follow you. He's using that word. Why is he doing this? Because he'll follow him no matter what he says, and that he is the one who knows better. But the thing is, you'll notice about Haman, he doesn't really mean this. He is instead being savvy and trying to get his father to realize that there's more to the situation than his father realizes it. And Creon falls for it. But notice that, good, that is the way to behave, subordinate everything else, my son, to your father's will. This is what a man prays for, that he may get the sons attentive and dutiful in his house. So that, and notice that you've just seen Creon do that publicly with the city. And now he's doing it in his own house with Haman. So he is taking his his political behavior and applying it within his house. And that's a recipe for disaster. That's what he's doing. He is taking the political and making it a personal, a way to raise his children. And that's where things go wrong. But Haman, you'll notice, has been trying to manipulate his father. And whether or not it's manipulated, I'm not sure. But trying to navigate his father's harmatia, his father's flaw, where he tries to dominate every situation. And then he says this, anarchy, anarchy, show me a greater evil. This is why cities tumble and great houses rain down. This is what scatters army. Notice that Creon is fully aware of the threat of the disorder. He does sincerely believe that having order will keep the city together, and it will keep his own house together. He does believe that. He holds it dearly, that this order is necessary, and it's not just me, me, me. It's, I want to create peace for everybody. Okay, so I know for a lot of folks, they cannot comprehend this with Creon, but seems to be his real goal. And he doesn't see the effect of what he's doing. Is it erroneous? Yeah, I think he needs to lighten up a little bit. But you notice there's also an issue with Antigone. And I think, yeah, she needs to lighten, but they both have the best, the best things in mind for either the city or for their family, and that this is going to happen. This is built into the Greek, state of mind, or the state, that it's just going to happen. Unless time has rusted my wits, what you say, king, is said with point and dignity. The leader of the chorus flatters Creon. Okay, does the chorus actually believe this? Not sure. Haman then says, Father, reason is God's crowning gift to man, and you are right. Again, notice the metaphoric language. It's his crowning gift. It's what the gods use to make all humankind kings. Okay, what is he literally saying? That all humanity has reason. Everybody has it. Okay, he's using the words of somebody being created into a king. That's what he's doing. Reason is the crown placed upon the head of all humankind. Why do this? Well, Haman is trying to point out that everybody around you, Creon, is a king. Everybody is. And he's doing this very subtly with his metaphors. So notice this language. These metaphors are everywhere. Why is it important? Because Creon isn't the only king. He isn't the only reasoning one. That's why Haman seems to be doing. So the metaphor machine is in full blast with Haman and everybody else around here. Yet there are other men who can reason too, and their opinions might be helpful. Might be helpful. Okay, we won't worry about it now, but notice he is moving carefully with Creon. He doesn't want to trigger him. You are not in a position to know everything that people say or do, or what they feel. Your temper terrifies them. This is something to keep in mind. We saw this at play with the sentry. We are seeing it at play with his son. Is his son really being sincere, or is he terrified of him? We're seeing his public behavior or his political behavior play out with his son. Okay, that's what's going on. He's creating fear in everybody, and he won't get honest answers the way he has done with Antigone. The only way he can get honesty is through defiance. So this has to happen. So the only way you can get honesty is to defy you, and the defiance drives you bonkers. Okay. In flood time, you see how some trees bend and become, because they bend, the even twigs are safe, while stubborn trees are torn up, roots and all. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I don't need to talk about that. I think that is one of the most famous lines in Haman. Well, it is without a doubt. He is warning his father of what's going to come. Okay. So you will do well to listen to him, King, if what he says is sensible, and you, Haman, must listen to your father. We can all get along. These lines from the Karagos are kind of, hey, let's all sit down and have a glass of wine and maybe some cigarettes. You consider it right for a man of my years and experience to go to school for a boy? That is the harmatia. I cannot back off from my position. That's it right there. That is, however, something that makes him, and this is very important, the fatal flaw makes him human. Everybody has a fatal flaw. Everybody does. If you think you don't, that's your fatal flaw. Okay, so everybody has this. This is what makes Creon human. But it's also what makes Antigone human. It makes her somebody you can identify because she's so self-righteous, and ain't we all like that sometimes? And aren't we all a little bit inflexible? No, we're not. No, yeah, we are. Okay. This is what makes Creon human and makes us able to understand him. If these people were beyond us and so magnificent, we just can't. This guy's, pardon me, just too dang good. Look at him, we wouldn't be able to identify with them. And we wouldn't be able to understand what they're going through. We can, through the harmatia, we can see the problems with them. We can see that, boy, this guy's just human like me. She's doing something that I've seen that before, and I've seen it in myself. The harmatia doesn't cause the tragedy. It makes the tragic person identifiable and understandable. Okay? And let me run through the last few things because I've gone on. My fatal flaw is that I don't shut up. But anyway, bring her out, bring the woman out, let her die before his eyes. Here, this instant, with his bridegroom beside her. Notice the cruelty that Creon has come to, and think back to how he started off. This was a man who was always thinking about the city, and now he is being just absolutely ruthless with his son. It's not so much that he wants to hurt Antigone here, he wants to hurt his own son with her death. That's what the harmatia has brought him to. Okay? And think about what he what he came out with in scene 1. But also keep in mind what I'm not going to get to, which is scene 5. Okay, he's not just a jerk, even though he's being a jerk here. Okay, and the chorus says this is a wonderful thing here. This line is, and this is Ode 3, around about half, a little bit past halfway. Love unconquerable, waster of rich men, keeper of warm nights, an all-night vigil, and the soft face of a girl. These are magnificent lines. Sorry, this is just great stuff. Sea wanderer, forest visitor, even the pure immortals cannot escape you. Immortal man in his one day's dust trembles before your glory. That is, what is he talking about? Literally, he's talking about, the power of love, but he uses the language of as if he's a thief, but he's also a sea wanderer. He is somebody who is everywhere, but he's also somebody who goes to the forest, and then he's somebody you can't get away from. Trembles before your glory. He is ominous. Love has all these different aspects. Nobody can get away from him. He's the thief, he's the conqueror, he's the invader, he's nobody. The gods are subjected to him. And the chorus sees this. This is what's driving Haman, and what's driving Antigone, and what's driving, literally driving Creon. His love of the city, and his love of his family, and his love of wanting order for all of them. That's what's driving them. Okay, and the chorus sees this going throughout all these different tragedies, and it has to happen. Okay, so understand that. I will wrap it up here with Antigone. And be aware of this. Look upon me, friend, and pity me, turning back the night's edge to say goodbye to the sun that shines for me no longer. Notice there's some troubling aspects. A lot of people really like Antigone, but do notice that she's like, pity me. She's calling on people to pity her. And that's part of her harmatia itself. She is self-righteous for good reason, but she wants you to know, watch me go here. That's a bit of her harmatia, and she follows through on her actions, which is, admirable, but she wants everybody to watch her follow through on these. And Haman's going to follow her. So notice that aspect about her, and that comes up in scene 4 when everything goes badly. I'm going to wrap it up right there, and we've walked through all of the play. The really juicy bits of the play. Now you have a really good idea of the play, and what I want you to do is be able to go through it and pick those juicy quotations that you think are, this is what's really going on. I see this. Pick those quotations, be able to use the metaphor machine on those quotations, and that's going to make the backbone of your essay, okay? Let me stop there. Good luck with this, guys. And don't get too tragic. Don't be an Antigone. Don't be a Creon. Boy, just have fun with it, okay? Take care, you guys.